Dude, under Obama's watch, we got mass shootings, bombings, beheadings, and a freaking knockout game. He's supposed to be a chief law enforcement officer of the United States, and he kind of sucks at it. Now, I don't expect Obama to micromanage all the localities of America, but the ideals that he propagates are about as good for any level of law enforcement as stripping away a person's immune system because they have an autoimmune disease. They still need an immune system.
I think what's happening. Propaganda.
Now, only a liberal would show so much animosity to conservatives for being Christian, and then insist that a person who executes people for being a Christian is an actual conservative. And just like you're so hung up on conservatives being Christians, you also want to hate conservatives for being pro-Second Amendment. You want to hate us for these things so bad and hate Christians and nail them to this image as bitter gun clingers that even when a person executes a series of Christians, you still want to insist that that person is conservative when they're clearly not. People are being murdered every day, and the highest body counts are in areas controlled by Democrats where they impose the most gun control. A big reason why you don't hear about that in the media is because the media would have to put a spotlight on the worldview and party they support. It has to be a murder with something that they can be able to grab and twist. And every once in a while, they'll get lucky and find a murder apart from all the murders that go on in their areas and find a grip they can twist. They can't twist blacks for killing blacks. That's their voter stock. They don't want their voter stock to think they're judging them and lose their blind dependency. And they need to keep that population under control so their voter stock is more manageable. But with this Oregon shooting, they found a supposed grip to twist. They think the guy's a conservative because according to a dating site he was using, his profile supposedly says he's conservative and Republican. Man, this murder was about as much of a conservative Republican as I am a Hare Krishnan. But even though nothing he did seems to match what it is to be a conservative, like murderous hatred for Christians, liberals want to insist that he's a conservative Republican because their agenda depends on them sticking to that. But the guy committed murder. You don't think he's capable of falsehoods too? They also see things like him being a fan of the Irish Republican Army. So I guess that means he's a Republican. Not the same thing. Not even close. We're not a people's republic where we have to be ruled by the unsatisfiable demands of the people. Although that's what we've been mutating into. Tired of this, man. Sorry. Our Constitution was established with the safeguards that's meant to keep people from infringing on one another's rights. And that's how you protect the common good and the balance of freedom. But liberal interpretation gets in the way of that, and we end up becoming more of a people's republic, and a people's republic will vote to cannibalize their own society. And that's far apart from a constitutional republic built on a Judeo-Christian foundation. The UCC murderer wasn't conservative at all. He was confused, just like you liberals. You liberals think this person actually aligns with conservatives just because of a label. Just like you think neo-Nazi skinheads identify with Republicans. They're not one of us. These people are confused. An American conservative pledges allegiance to this flag and the republic it represents. Neo-Nazis and Confederates take the liberties to pledge allegiance to this flag and this flag, which represents something totally different than this flag. But they want to make this flag conform to the ideals of these flags. And these neo-Nazi wannabes will talk about how they want limited government while they wave a flag that represents full-on statism. Like I said, these people aren't conservative, they're confused and contradictory. That doesn't represent American conservatism at all. They're confused, and so are you for thinking anybody like that is an American conservative. Any culture can have a doctrine that they're conservative with, and such adherence to different doctrines have different results. That's why when liberals try to save face and say Democrats back then were conservative, it doesn't fly. Because Democrats weren't conservative with our Constitution, they were conservative with the Constitution that they took the liberty to draw up for themselves and their Confederacy. You liberals swear up and down that you hate broad brushing, but that's exactly what you do. Republican ain't the same thing in other cultures. Conservative ain't the same thing in other cultures. So trying to make the UCC murderer out to be an American conservative ain't gonna fly. Don't let the left wing sucker you again. Just like they're trying to sucker you into believing he was a conservative so they can sucker you into believing more gun control policy is needed, they're also trying to make you believe he was white. Just like they did with George Zimmerman, who was also a Democrat. The UCC murderer's mom is black, his father's white. Anyway, the UCC murderer isn't doing anything outside of what the Democrats have always done. He murdered Christians by shooting them, and Democrats would murder Christians by blowing up their churches. I'm Alfonso Rachel with ZoNation. My prayers to the families who had their loved ones maliciously taken away from them. And thank you, Chris Mintz, who was on the front line to draw fire away from others at the expense of your health, and almost at the expense of your woman being without her man and your kid being without his daddy. And believe it or not, there's people out there cursing Chris Mintz, saying he did nothing heroic. All he did was get shot. Do you agree with that? Or do you agree that he took 5 to 7 bullets that could have been 5 or 7 more people dead, and in that time Chris took that fire, that was an opportunity for others to either escape or join Chris in the rush? In the freaking knockout game.